some time ago, a guy that lives in a state that looks like a giant oven mitt decided to start his own podcast. He's cooler than you. His favorite pizza topping is pineapple because he knows it makes you angry. This is CuJo's Corner. So before we get started with today's podcast, I'd like to first talk about my buddy Daniel DeRay of Mystic Heroes Theater. If you guys remember a while back, I interviewed Daniel on the podcast when the Mystic Heroes Theater play Don't Feed the Sandworms, a parody of Dune, was going to be premiering on their YouTube channel. Well, they're coming back with another play. This one is called Captain Henry and the Justice Court. It is going from July 1st through July 3rd. And if you guys would like to donate money to the Mystic Heroes Venmo to help fund the play, I will have a link to that in the description below. Definitely be sure to help them out. Support independent art. I'm very big on that. And with all that said, let's get started on the podcast. Alrighty, well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another edition of CuJo's Corner. And so we got a bit of a short one for you guys today, but I think I managed to pick out some decent things to talk about. We're gonna talk about the Michigan Panthers. That embarrassment of a game on Sunday against the Houston Gamblers. We're gonna give my quick thoughts about the Detroit Tigers, and we're gonna talk a little bit about some controversy with the Tigers that happened earlier today. At the time I'm recording this, the last thing I'm gonna end it on tonight will be the all the Deebo Samuel talk, and I'm gonna make a bit of a case for why I think the Detroit Lions could and should make a move for Deebo Samuel, and sadly, why my Pats really shouldn't. We'll get to that when we get there. Like I said, guys, today's installment might be a bit shorter than most, but it is what it is. Sometimes that's just how it goes. And without further ado, let's get started with some USFL talk. So the USFL kicked off last weekend. I didn't really catch a whole lot of the games. I mainly wanted to catch one, and that was the Michigan Panthers. My dad and my uncle were big fans of the Panthers when they were younger. So to be able to sit down and watch this game with them was a lot of fun. Like, I guess that's the first thing I'll start with, is the environment that I was around was pretty cool. It was Easter Sunday. My mom's making ham. We're all watching football. And hearing my dad and my uncle kind of reminisce about the Panthers back in the 80s. The USFL was around in its first run. It was really interesting. I don't want to say I felt nostalgic because the USFL was actually around before my time. But yeah, I mean, it was a nice environment to be around. It was a lot of fun. I did enjoy watching the game, even though the Panthers got beat and they kind of embarrassed themselves in the first half. So let's talk a little bit about that. I don't have any major stats or anything written down. I rewatched the highlights to kind of refresh my memory with what happened in the game. And it's a little hard for me to give you guys a hard line opinion on this because it's at the beginning of the year. We don't know how this is going to go. I mean, we don't even know how we don't even know if the USFL if this is going to last or not. But anyway, what I'm saying is it's a little hard for me to react extremely in one direction or the other. Uh, Rather, it's like like saying like, "Oh, Panthers gonna be trash. They look like crap," and I'm not confident at all. And like, "Oh, I'm not worried about it." To be honest, guys, it's hard to really say where this team is gonna be in a couple of weeks, or hell, they play tomorrow. I think they play New Jersey or something like that. I think it's New Jersey. Um, so who knows? Hopefully they pick things up. But anyway, the first half of this game was a complete disaster. Shea Patterson fumbled it. I want to say 2 times. One of them resulted in a scoop and score for Houston. Then Paxton Lynch came in and just absolutely shat the bed. He looked god awful, just very stiff. Had a ugly fumble, much like Patterson. Had a really ugly pick that he threw where it didn't even look like it was anywhere close to the receiver. Went straight to the defensive back. So yeah, Paxton Lynch looked like shit. Shea Patterson was definitely a little bit in over his head. This first half, guys, it was a disaster. They looked awful. They looked like they had never played the game of football in their lives. They just looked sloppy. They didn't look like they could put something together. You got guys on the defense getting into fights with each other, and generally it just looked like this was going to be a disaster. And then the second half happened. So the score at halftime was 17-0 Houston. The final score ended up being 17-12. In the second half, Michigan came out and they battled back. Patterson marched them down the field. They ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. They didn't get either on the point after attempts. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that they looked stellar in the second half, but they looked better. They looked more competent. They actually picked off Houston's quarterback. I don't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but ironically enough, the guy that picked him off's name was Jameson Houston, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, in the second half, Michigan definitely looked way more competent than they did in the first. And again, it's very hard for me to say where this whole thing is going to go, what this team is going to look like by the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, definitely not the start I wanted to see them. I wanted to see out of them at the beginning of the year, but it is what it is. Again, it's hard for me to be angry. It's hard for me to get too over invested. I just hope Michigan comes out against New Jersey a lot better than they did against Houston. That's it. That's really about all I have to say. If you guys have anything else you want to add to that, you guys can go ahead. I know that was a super short segment, and really wasn't all that detailed. I really didn't give you guys a whole lot, but to be honest, guys, there really wasn't a whole lot for me to give as far as this game goes. I am looking forward to the rest of the season, seeing how this all plays out, and yeah, like I said, I hope Michigan gets their shit together and they're able to come back better against New Jersey. So we're gonna move on to first impressions of the Detroit Tigers. Now this is not gonna be over analytical. I'm not gonna call out names and start listing stats or anything. Um, I just kind of want to give my general first impressions of what I think of the Detroit Tigers so far. I've been able to watch and listen to the majority of the games this year. Uh, um, so I've got a decent idea of how they look, and I would say they're right about where I thought they would be. They just beat the Yankees earlier today. They unfortunately lost the series to them. but they won 3-0, and a little bit of controversy behind that. We'll get to that in just a minute. But overall, this team's about where I thought they would be. They're 5-7. It's hovering about around 500. Guys, I didn't think they were going to be all that great. I really didn't. And I know that might not be the thing you want to hear me say, but honest to God, look, I didn't really think this team was going to be that good. And for them to be 5-7, this is exactly what I essentially just kind of thought that they were going to do. Now, it's super, super early, and to be honest, I should probably call this way too early impressions of the Detroit Tigers. Let's get into some details about this. Now, again, these aren't stats, these aren't analytics. I'm not going to give you anything that you can chew on, but I will give you simply what I've seen. The pitching, specifically from the bullpen, has been absolutely solid. I haven't really watched the Tigers over the past few years. The last time I got really into the Tigers was back in like 2012, 2013. And their bullpen was an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, it was a disaster. And it was actually a big part of the reason that they never won a World Series around that time. Very stacked team, a lot of talent on that roster. Could not get it done. That was why. Starting pitching has been a little chewed up here and there. Guys are getting injured left and right, and really on this team in general. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But yeah, the pitching, specifically from the bullpen, it's been pretty solid. It seems like it's been pretty solid. I do have an issue, though. The bats. The bats go cold at the worst possible times. I can't count the amount of times that this team has left the bases loaded and either only brought in one run or no runs. I feel like I said run a weird way the first time. Whatever. It seems like base running and batting is kind of an Achilles heel for this team. Their bats are a little cold. Now, that could be because it's still early in the season and some guys are still finding the groove. They're also just getting chewed up by that injury bug. Javi Baez is injured. Casey Mize is hurt. I think Matt Manning got pulled from his last start for shoulder stiffness. Andrew Chafin is hurt. I mean, like, there was I was watching a game and they flashed a graphic. Oh, Riley Green. Riley Green is hurt too. I mean, this team has been absolutely decimated by injuries. And the fact that we're still 5-7, I think that says a lot about A.J. Hinch. I think it really does. I think A.J. Hinch is a guy that we need to look to lock up. Look, I'll be honest, guys. Chris Ilitch. If I'm Chris Ilitch right now, I would go to A.J. Hinch with a blank check and a blank contract, and I would tell him, here, fill out the amount of years and fill out the amount that you want to be paid, and we will pay you. This guy, you cannot let A.J. Hinch go. This guy, he somehow finds a way to keep this team competitive. They have been destroyed by the injury bug, and he's still finding a way to keep this team competitive. Their pitching has been decimated. Their hitting has been decimated. He still finds a way to keep them competitive. Gotta lock this guy up long term. You've got to lock him up long term, Chris Ilitch, please. And yeah, the last thing I'll talk about is the controversy that happened earlier that took place between the Yankees and the Tigers. So Miguel Cabrera currently sits at 2,999 hits. He's been looking for that prestigious 3,000th career hit. And, for the Tigers, and let's be honest, most Tigers fans, like, for the ones that know, like, we're not going to be that good, this is probably one of the only like bright spots for the season, is seeing Miguel Cabrera get that career 3,000th hit, and he almost got it today. He went 3 for 4 last night, which brought him to 29.99. And today was looking to get just one hit, and unfortunately he went, I think it was 0 for 3 today, with I think it was a couple groundouts and maybe it was like 0 for 2, because he got intentionally walked, and that's the controversy that I want to address. So I think it was like there was a guy on. It was a left-handed pitcher. I was listening to it on the radio at work. So there was a left-handed pitcher on the mound for New York. Faces Cabrera. You know, Cabrera being a right-handed bat. The analytics would tell you that this is not a good matchup. That, you know, righty on lefty, you want to get the lefty versus lefty kind of thing if you're the pitching team. At least if you're going by the analytics. So, what was the controversy of all this? Well, the manager of the Yankees, I think his name's like Aaron Boone or something. He decided to intentionally walk Cabrera at his last at bat, and the crowd hated it, and the fans hated it. I was listening to the Mike Valenti show before I left work, and he hated it. And listen, I know I kept talking about how the analytics would tell you, like, this is not a good matchup, you know, righty versus lefty, blah, blah, blah. That's what I initially thought, too, was like, you know, like, oh, well, anyone that knows anything about baseball analytics would know, like, yeah, that probably was the smart move, was to walk Cabrera, get Austin Meadows to come up, and you have the lefty versus lefty. But if you dive into the analytics a little bit, Cabrera's bat was cold today. He hadn't had one hit. He wasn't. I mean, yeah, he went 3 for 4 last night, but he was 0 for like 2 or 0 for 3 today. He didn't have a hit. So, and also, over the past few years, Cabrera's kind of lost a step in his bat. He's not the batter that he was in 2012 when he won Triple Crown. Or was that in 2011? I don't remember. Early 2010s when he won Triple Crown. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where neither side is really wrong. And I understand the fans that were pissed off. You know, they paid all that money to go and, you know, watch Cabrera get that 3,000th career hit. I understand why the fans are frustrated by that. But at the end of the day, that's the risk you take when you pay all that money to go to a baseball game. Because there's nothing saying he would have got a hit if they pitched to him. He might have. He might have got a home run. And, you know, his I think it was like his thousandth career hit was a home run. His 2,000th career hit was a home run. You know, and baseball players are pretty superstitious. So, hey, maybe they were a little afraid, like, oh, he's going to hit a home run. The Yankees were down 1-0. There wasn't much of a lead to protect. They easily could have pitched to Cabrera. So, yeah, it's one of those things. I really just have to say, neither side is really wrong. I understand why the Yankees manager did what he did, because, again, the baseball analytics and people that have played baseball or know anything about it would say, well, it's better for the pitching team if you have a left-handed pitcher on the mound. You want to get a lefty bat. You want to make him face a lefty. You know, like the analytics will tell you that. But if we're gonna do that, let's dive into it a little bit. Now, I haven't looked at Austin Meadows' numbers on against left-handed pitching. Austin Meadows in general has just been a damn good player for the Tigers. So I don't know if that was really the greatest idea. That's the thing about analytics and numbers, and I've always said this, is analytics, stats, they have their place in the game. They tell the story. They don't lie. Or they tell a story. They don't lie. But they don't tell you the entire thing. And you can still get it wrong even if you follow all the numbers. Case in point, this game here. Because what happened after they intentionally walked Cabrera? Austin Meadows batted him in. Tigers won 3-0. The intentional walk did nothing. The Yankees manager followed the analytics, and he lost. It doesn't make him wrong. It just meant he was wrong in the situation. So, where do I kind of stand on this whole situation? To be honest, I probably would have pitched to him. Just because, like, if I'm the Yankees manager, yeah, I know. It's like, numbers-wise, it's better to have the lefty-on-lefty matchup. I would look at that and go, yeah, Cabrera's been quiet all day and his bat isn't what it used to be. I think I'll take my chances. Now, one could say, like, oh, but that's stupid. Well, what Boone ended up going with didn't work. So, that's the thing about sports. You got to risk it for the biscuit. So, speaking of risk it for the biscuit, we're going to talk about this whole Deebo Samuel thing in just a minute. But before we do, I'll ask you guys, where do you stand on the whole controversy? Would you have pitched to him? Would you have not pitched to him? Would you have intentionally walked Cabrera? Actually, I guess the question, I'll make it simple. Would you have intentionally walked Miguel Cabrera, or would you have pitched to him? You guys heard me. I said I would have pitched to him, but I want to hear what you have to say. So with that, let's move on to the Deebo Samuel stuff. So, Deebo Samuel wants out of San Francisco. He has requested a trade. As of right now, at the time I'm recording this, a trade has not happened. Doesn't mean that a trade will or won't. Everything I've read about this whole thing, San Francisco doesn't want to get rid of Deebo Samuel. I don't blame them. The whole thing is Deebo Samuel wants a new contract out of San Francisco where he's basically making like $25 million a year. He basically wants a contract in the realm of Devontae Parker and Tyreek Hill. And he also does not want to be a split position player, like a slashback. He doesn't want to play running back and wide receiver. He just wants to play wide receiver. From what I gathered, that's the main basis of him wanting out of San Francisco. San Francisco does not want to trade him. They want to keep him. Deebo Samuel wants out of San Francisco. So, now that I've laid that out for you, I'm going to lay out why I think the Detroit Lions should and could make the move. And then I'm going to tell you why my Pats, unfortunately, probably should stay away from this one. So let's start with the Lions. First things first, the Lions have a lot of draft capital. A guy like Deebo Samuel is going to fetch at least a first-round pick, maybe even more than that. So if I'm Detroit and I got 4 first-round picks between next week and next year's draft, pick number 32 for this year and the Rams first-round pick from last year. I would, you could propose that. Next year, I'm sorry. The Rams first-round pick that you got from Matt Stafford next year. That's one possibility. Although that's 2 first-rounders for a wide receiver. That's a lot, but you could also go pick number 32 and pick number 34. I don't think San Francisco has a first-round pick, so, hey, I think they would take pick 32 and number 34. Why not? Now, if they didn't, then fine. You can move on. But I think the Lions should make a call. They have the draft capital. And a guy like Deebo Samuel would give Jared Goff yet another pair of hands to throw the ball to. You pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown and T.J. Hawkinson, I think you'd have a decent set of wide receivers and a tight end. Not to mention, Samuel's tough. I mean, yeah, he's got some injury concerns here and there, but if you don't split his time between running back and wide receiver, you only keep him at wide receiver, I think he turns into a top wide receiver for you. The talent is there. The Lions have the picks. And you know what? Jared Goff may not be your long term. You might end up going with a rookie quarterback. How awesome would it be to give your rookie quarterback a pair of hands like Deebo Samuel to throw to? You wouldn't even have to worry about drafting a wide receiver to develop chemistry with him. He'd already come. It'd basically be like what New England did for Mac Jones. You give this rookie a new set of receivers to play with, and just let him do his thing. Let him make magic. I really don't see why the Lions are not picking up the phone. I haven't read anything about it. I haven't seen anything talking about, the Lions are showing interest in Deebo Samuel. I really think that's a mistake. I think this whole offseason for the Lions so far has not been good. But they can make up for it. I'm not gonna sit here and act like Deebo Samuel is like is like the guy to go and get, or that he's gonna be like a total game changer. But he would make your offense that much better. It would make Jared Goff's life a lot easier. Not to mention, it makes your offense that much better. I mean, guys, think about it like this: Goff / insert rookie quarterback here next year, maybe, I don't know. DeAndre Swift as a running back to hand the ball to, a top 5 offensive line, a damn good running back like DeAndre Swift, and then over in the pass catching department, you got T.J. Hawkinson, Deebo Samuel, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you can do some damage with that. I think you could do some. I think that could be a fun set of wideouts, and like I said, a good offense. I think that would put together something special for the Lions. I really do. I wouldn't break the bank on trying to get Deebo, and again, there's no guarantee that he gets traded just because he put in a request. It doesn't really mean anything, but I truly do think the Lions are doing themselves a disservice by not going after Deebo. But it's not really all that surprising. I didn't think they would. They didn't go after Deshaun Watson. They didn't even try to make an attempt for Tyreek Hill. They didn't try to make an attempt for DK Metcalf when I mean, a bit of an asterisk on that one because the Seahawks didn't end up trading him, but for a hot little minute there, it looked like he might have been, and the Lions once again did not even pick up the phone. Here we go again. Deebo Samuel may or may not be available, and the Lions aren't even trying. Guys, look, this is exhausting. I'm not even a Lions fan, and I find this exhausting. There was so many missed opportunities to instantly make your team a lot better, and I feel like they've let it slip through their fingers, and this is another situation where they're probably going to let it slip through their fingers. So, yeah, that's why I said the Lions could make a move, and why I think they should. They can because they have the draft capital, and they should because Deebo Samuel would make their offense a whole hell of a lot better. Now let's move into why I think the Pats shouldn't make a move on trying to acquire Deebo Samuel. And I want to make this clear up front. It has nothing to do with his talent. It has nothing to do with anything about Deebo. I would love nothing more than to have Deebo Samuel in New England. Believe me. We need a number 1 wide receiver. Now, I don't know. I don't know if he could be that guy, but hey, screw it, dude. He's way too damn talented. I would not pass up on the opportunity. But here's why I don't think New England should pick up the phone on this one. At least for now. They don't have the draft capital. And to be honest, unless they're going to finance their future, which I don't really agree with doing, really for any wide receiver, um, I don't think they could outbid a lot of teams. They have the 21st overall pick, and then their next pick after that is like 54th. That's a 33 pick difference. Unless they somehow trade up into the second round. But, yeah. Yeah. Simply put, guys, the Pats just don't have the draft capital. Um, I'm not so worried about like the contract situation because I did read an article about this earlier talking about how like we would have to sign him and the money would be ridiculous. He'd want at least $25 million a year. I think you could give him a contract where most of that is like incentive based so that he still has to show up and perform. We're seeing more teams do that after Tampa Bay did it the 1 year. So there's nothing saying you can't do that. I'm not worried about the contract situation. I just don't think New England has the draft capital, and I don't think they should finance their future on it. Like I said, when I was suggesting about the Lions, maybe the Pats could string together a package where they put together like the 21st overall pick and maybe their first round pick for next year, or maybe their second round pick for next year. But I don't know. I don't really think San Francisco would go for it. I really don't. Because again, there's nothing saying they're gonna trade Deebo. I don't think they would trade him for future draft picks. I think they would definitely want something now, because Deebo Samuel is not just some average player. This is a guy who played two different positions last year. He is a very versatile weapon on offense. This guy is damn good. Like I said, I would love nothing more than to have him on the Pats. But as it stands, I don't think they have the draft capital, and unless they're going to throw a player in on the trade, I don't think they have enough to outbid any other team that decides, oh, we're going to try to make an attempt at Deebo Samuel. So, much as I would love the Pats to try to make a trade for him, I don't think it's in the best. I don't think it's in their best interest, at least for now. If he hits the free agent market, if he doesn't get traded, he plays another year in San Francisco and he hits the free agent market, oh hell yeah, I will jump on here and I will beg Belichick to sign him from here. I will be like, please, Bill, sign Deebo. You got to bring in Samuel. I'll do it. If he hits the free agent market next year when New England has way more cap space than they do this year, oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You bet your ass. So anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up the show for tonight. I don't know why I said for now, but for tonight. Again, I know this one was shorter than most installments, not by too much. I still managed to stretch it over 30 minutes. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts, your opinions on Deebo Samuel. If you're a Lions fan, do you agree with me? Should they? Okay, so here's the questions I'll put out there. I'll put out two different questions for two different fan bases. Okay, so Lions fans, do you agree with me that the Lions should make an attempt for Deebo Samuel, or do you disagree with me? And if you do, why do you? Pats fans, fellow Pats fans, do you think we should finance our future for Deebo Samuel, or do you agree with me and you think that maybe we should just leave this one on the table? Whatever your thoughts are, throw them in the comment section below. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to check out my merch on redbubble.com, and as always, hit that notification bar for whenever I upload. I think I have an outro explaining all that. I don't know why I'm telling you. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. So, until next time, stay awesome. If you enjoyed this video from CuJo Productions, please consider subscribing, check out my Redbubble page for all my merch, and hit the bell icon so that you're notified for every time I upload a video. As always, stay awesome, guys.